I did not think I humiliated him that night. I thought I finally said the truth everyone at that table already knew. 2 wine glasses, 4 friends, one boyfriend standing there in the shirt I once said made his eyes look beautiful. Of course, I expected him to argue, beg, or finally admit that I was too much for him. Instead, he smiled like I had given him freedom, walked out, and left me alone with the kind of silence my best friend could not survive. My name is Emma Calloway. I was 27, and I worked as a marketing strategist for a lifestyle brand agency. The thing is, I understood how people wanted to be seen before they understood it themselves. 2 campaign boards, 1 clean blazer. And of course I believed that meant I understood what kind of man belonged beside me. Ryan Mercer did not look like a mistake when I first met him. He looked calm. That was the word everyone used for him, and back then I liked it. We met at a rooftop barbecue in late summer when the air smelled like grilled peaches and sunscreen, and the city looked expensive from 8 floors up. He was 30, worked in IT consulting, kept himself in shape, and listened without pushing his voice over mine. That felt rare then. He asked about my work like it was not just logos and captions. I told him I made people want a version of themselves they could buy. He said that sounded hard to live inside all day. I laughed because it was almost too accurate from a man I had known for 20 minutes. The first 4 months moved quickly. Weekend trips, late coffee, movies I chose and restaurants he remembered. He learned that I hated foam on coffee but liked cinnamon. He learned that I always checked my reflection in black windows, not mirrors, because mirrors asked too much. When I told him once that his blue button-down made his eyes look beautiful, he wore it again 2 weeks later and acted like it was an accident. That should have made me soft. Instead, it made me aware. He introduced me to his parents after 4 months. His mother hugged me before dessert. His father said I had good energy. Their house smelled like roast chicken and clean laundry, and Ryan looked at me across the table like I had already been placed in a future he trusted. After dinner, he asked if I was okay. Softly, carefully. He asked if something had changed between us that night. What he meant was simple. He had seen my smile turn into something held in place. What I heard was different. I heard a man already checking whether I would behave correctly inside his life. I told him nothing had changed. Of course, I said work had been heavy. Later, Jess texted me that Ryan had future husband energy, which sounded sweet until she added that it was dangerous when men started planning school districts in their eyes. I smiled at my phone before I answered. Ryan saw the smile from across the room. He did not ask who had written. He only looked down at the blue shirt sleeve near his wrist, then back at me. 1 dinner. 2 parents. No clean reason to feel trapped. The brunch cafe where Jess liked to meet smelled like burned sugar and wet coats. It had marble tables too small for 4 women, and mirrors placed high enough to make everyone look better when they leaned back. The thing is, I trusted rooms like that because they made cruelty sound like conversation. Jess arrived first, sunglasses still on her head though it was raining. Maya came after her, apologizing before she had done anything wrong. Alicia arrived last, carrying tea instead of coffee and wearing the face she used when she had already decided not to say too much. They asked about Ryan because friends ask about boyfriends until the answer becomes entertainment. I said he was good. I said he was steady. I said he had taken me to his parents' house and his mother had already started sending me recipes. Jess made a face and said Ryan seemed like the kind of man who would save appliance manuals in labelled folders. Maya laughed because Maya laughed when Jess made space for it. Alicia did not laugh right away. She stirred her tea, though there was nothing in it to stir. I told them Ryan was not like that. Then I said he did keep receipts for everything. Jess leaned back and said that was what she meant. She said some men were decent in a way that made a woman feel already buried. Maya said Ryan was nice, maybe too nice. Alicia said Ryan seemed kind. Kind. That word landed badly because it sounded like a consolation prize. At work the next week, I built a campaign for a perfume brand around the line that desire had to feel witnessed. I stood in the conference room with clean slides, soft lighting, and a photo of a woman turning away from someone who wanted her. Everyone liked the concept. My director said I understood emotional tension better than anyone on the team. Of course I did. I spent all day selling the difference between being chosen and being kept. Then Ryan texted me to ask if I had eaten because he knew I forgot lunch during presentation weeks. It should have felt like care. It felt like a hand on my shoulder. That night, he came to my apartment with takeout and a small box of the cinnamon tea I liked. The kitchen smelled like ginger, soy sauce, and the rain on his coat. He placed the food on the counter and asked if I wanted plates or if we were eating straight from the cartons. I said cartons were fine. He noticed my phone lighting up beside the sink. Jess had written that the safe option was making dinner again. I turned the phone over, but not fast enough. Ryan did not reach for it. He never did anything that obvious. He only asked, specific and quiet, why Jess thought he was the safe option. That was the first time he brought one named thing to the table. I told him Jess was dramatic. I said everyone joked about relationships. I told him not to make a harmless message into an audit. He said he was not auditing me. He said he was asking why I never defended him when the jokes were about him. What he meant was that he had heard the distance growing around his name. What I heard was that he wanted me to manage my friends so his feelings stayed comfortable. I told him that if a joke could hurt him that much, maybe the problem was not the joke. The carton lid bent under my fingers when I closed it too hard. He looked at me for a long second. Then he said he wanted to know whether I still respected him. I should have answered. Instead, I told him respect could not be demanded just because someone bought tea. He did not eat much after that. He washed one fork and one plate. Mine stayed by the sink with sauce drying near the edge. The next morning I told Jess the whole thing. Not the exact version. My version. I said Ryan had turned a joke into a courtroom. Jess said men like him always called it sensitivity when they wanted control. Maya reacted with a laughing face. Alicia wrote nothing. At lunch, Alicia stopped by my office with a paper cup of tea. She said Ryan had always seemed serious about me. She asked if I was sure I wanted the group making him into a punchline. I told her she was acting like I had done something awful. She said she was not saying awful. She was saying pattern. That word annoyed me because it sounded like therapy. I had already heard enough of that word from Dr. Mallory, who sat in her calm room every Thursday and asked why commitment made my chest tighten. I told Alicia that therapy made everyone dramatic if they used enough soft language. Alicia's face changed a little. Not judgment, more like a door closing without noise. 2 days later, Ryan asked if I wanted to come with him to his brother David's birthday dinner. I said I had a work thing. I did not have a work thing. I sat in my parked car outside Jess's building for 18 minutes, reading the group chat while rain moved down the windshield in crooked lines. Jess had written that Ryan probably thought he was my final choice. Maya asked if he was wrong. I typed that maybe he needed to understand he was never my level. I stared at the sentence for several seconds. Then I sent it. Alicia's typing dots appeared, then vanished. The thing is, silence can look like agreement when you need it to. By Friday, Jess suggested the wine bar downtown. She said it would be casual. I told Ryan to meet us there at 8, and he replied that he would be there after traffic. Of course he would. Ryan always showed up. The wine bar sat on a corner downtown, with tall windows and little gold lamps on every table. The room smelled like citrus peel, perfume, and white wine spilled into wood grain. I arrived early because I wanted to control the table before Ryan became part of it. Jess was already there, one hand wrapped around a glass and one eyebrow lifted like she had been waiting for the show to begin. Maya sat beside her, checking her phone too often. Alicia sat across from me, quiet, her hands around a glass she had barely touched. Natalie had come too, a friend of Maya's who barely knew Ryan and therefore had no reason to protect him. 2 glasses, 4 friends, one corner table that made me feel brighter than I was. Jess asked if Ryan knew what kind of night this was. I told her it was just drinks. She smiled and said of course. Alicia looked at me then. She asked if I was breaking up with him. I said I was done pretending. She asked why it had to happen here. I told her private conversations with Ryan always turned into him asking careful questions until I felt like a bad person for wanting air. That sounded true. It was true, almost. Then Ryan walked in. He was 6 minutes late. His hair was a little damp from the rain. He wore the blue button-down I had once said made his eyes look beautiful. The shirt looked familiar enough to hurt, so I decided it annoyed me instead. He saw us and smiled. Not big. Ryan never performed happiness loudly. He came to the table and said he was sorry about the traffic. He looked at me first, then at everyone else, as if he still believed this was a normal night. Jess looked into her wine and said he had actually shown up. Maya laughed quickly. Natalie smiled because she did not know the rules of the room yet. Alicia looked down. Ryan gave a small laugh too. He asked why he would not show up. The table gave him nothing. The thing is, I could have stopped there. I could have taken his hand. I could have asked him to step outside. I could have said the kind thing, or at least the clean thing. Instead, I picked up my glass. I told him I did not know why he kept trying so hard. His face changed by 1 inch. He asked what I meant. Soft question. Wrong place. Wrong time. Too much trust in a room that had already turned. I leaned back and let the chair hold me like a throne. I said he should look at himself and then look at me. I said he had really believed that someone like me would ever seriously date someone like him. No one laughed at first, that was the part I remember. Not the line, not my voice, the tiny empty space after it. Then Jess giggled. Maya followed because the silence needed somewhere to go. Natalie covered her mouth and looked at Jess before deciding what face to wear. Alicia's mouth moved once, but no sound came out. Ryan looked at me. There was no anger in his face. That should have been satisfying because I had told myself anger would prove he was controlling. There was no begging either. That should have made me feel powerful because I had told myself begging would prove he knew I was above him. Instead, he smiled. Not a happy smile. Not even a sad one. It was the kind of smile someone gives when the missing piece finally slides into place and makes the picture ugly but complete. For 1 second, the room thinned around me. The lamps, the glasses, Jess's sharp little laugh, Maya's nervous fingers, Alicia's lowered eyes. I saw the shirt. I saw the exact blue sleeve near his wrist. He had worn it because I had once loved him in it, or because he had thought I did. I saw 8 months of him showing up with coffee, with patience, with his parents, with the steady belief that if something was wrong, we could name it and fix it. A door opened in my head. Behind it was not guilt. It was worse. It was the possibility that I had not told the truth at all. I had staged a wound so I would not have to admit I was afraid of being known by someone who was not performing desire for witnesses. Ryan said good. He said that meant this was the last time I would have to see him. He turned and walked out. The door opened and let in a strip of wet street air. Then it closed. Alicia whispered my name. I did not look at her. I looked at Jess instead. Jess laughed again, but softer this time, and I grabbed onto that sound like it was a rope. If Jess could laugh, then the scene was still mine. If the scene was still mine, then Ryan had walked out because he was embarrassed, not because I had broken something clean. Of course, I chose the version that kept me standing. I told the table he always made things dramatic by being quiet. Nobody answered right away. Maya picked up her glass and drank too quickly. Natalie asked if we should order another bottle. Alicia said she needed air. When Alicia stood, Jess asked if she was serious. Alicia said she was just stepping outside. Her voice sounded flat. I told myself Alicia hated conflict. That was all. After the bar, I went home alone. My apartment smelled like stale perfume and the candle I had forgotten to blow out before leaving. I took off my earrings and placed them on the counter one at a time. Then I opened the group chat. I wrote that I had finally had the courage to end things, and that I felt free. Jess replied first. Maya replied second, with a little laughing reaction. Natalie sent a heart, even though she had no right to understand anything. Alicia did not reply. I watched the screen for 3 minutes. 1 message, 2 grey read marks. No Ryan. By midnight, the candle had burned a small dark circle into the glass jar. My phone lay beside it, face up, like a witness I had invited and then regretted. The thing is, I expected Ryan to text. Of course I did. Men who were beneath you were supposed to prove it by chasing. He did not. I checked his name in my messages. Nothing. I opened the group chat. Jess had sent a joke about dramatic exits. Maya had reacted with a tiny face. Alicia's name sat under the members list, still there but not speaking. 2 hours, 4 checks, no apology to reject. No apology to. The silence began to irritate me before it began to scare me. The next morning my head hurt in that clean white way wine leaves behind. I made coffee and did not drink it. Jess called while I was standing in the kitchen, and she asked if I felt amazing. I told her I felt light. She said Ryan would probably send a paragraph by lunch. I said he could send a book and I would not read it. That was a lie. I kept my phone near me all morning. Alicia did not call me. She called him. I did not know that then. I only knew that at 12:17 Alicia left our group chat. The notification appeared while I was putting on mascara. Alicia Grant left the conversation. The words were small on the screen. They should have looked childish. Instead, they made the room too quiet. I called her. She did not answer. I called again, and this time she picked up. Her voice sounded tired, like she had been awake for more than one night. I asked what she thought she was doing. She said she had met Ryan for coffee. She said she had apologized for what happened at the bar. The mascara wand stopped near my eye. I asked why she would do that. She said because what happened was wrong, and because sitting there made her part of it. I told her she was being dramatic. I said Ryan was a grown man and could survive one honest sentence. Alicia said it was not one sentence. She said it was months of jokes, messages, looks, and me turning his kindness into a weakness whenever I needed an audience. What she meant was that she had finally counted the pattern. What I heard was betrayal. I told her she had no right to give him my private life. Her voice went smaller. She said she did not show him every message. She said she almost did, but she did not want to make herself cleaner by making me dirtier. She said she only told him the truth he deserved to know. I asked what truth. Alicia said she told him about the therapy. She told him I had spoken about commitment issues and self-sabotage. She told him I had done this before, not always that cruelly, but close enough. She told him I got scared when relationships became real and then found a way to make leaving feel like power. The bathroom light hummed over me. My reflection looked polished from the neck up and empty around the mouth. I said she had turned my pain into gossip. Alicia said I had turned his pain into entertainment. After she hung up, I stood there with mascara on one eye and nothing on the other. That was not a dramatic image. It was just ugly. Later, Jess came over with iced coffee and the kind of loyalty that needed an audience to stay warm. She said Alicia had always wanted moral credit. She said some women waited for one chance to become the good friend in someone else's sad little story. I wanted to believe her. Of course I did. But Jess did not stay long. She had dinner plans. She kept checking her phone while I talked. When I told her Alicia had mentioned therapy, Jess winced as if the word had made the whole thing less fun. Maya texted me once that night. She said she hoped I was okay. Not that Alicia was wrong. Not that Ryan deserved it. Just that she hoped I was okay. The circle had started changing shape. Ryan still had not contacted me. On Monday, I went to therapy because cancelling would have felt like proof. Dr. Mallory's office smelled like mint tea and old paper. She asked how my weekend had been. I told her I had ended things with Ryan. I used a clean voice. She asked how. I described the wine bar without the laughter at first. Then she asked who was present. I said friends. She asked why friends needed to be present for something private. That question annoyed me because it had Alicia's fingerprints on it. I said private conversations with Ryan made me feel trapped. Dr. Mallory asked what trapped meant. I said he always wanted serious things before asking whether I felt ready for them. That was true. Ryan did do that. He moved forward with care, but he moved. Parents, plans, weekend trips, questions about future holidays. He did not ask if my body treated closeness like a locked room. Dr. Mallory said that sounded important. I told her importance did not make him my victim. She did not argue. That was what made therapy unbearable sometimes. Nobody fought hard enough to let me win. That night I emailed Ryan. Not a long message. I wrote that Alicia had no right to speak for me and that the wine bar had been painful for everyone. I read it 3 times and deleted the sentence where I said everyone. Then I sent nothing. The next day, Alicia sent one message. She said she was done covering for someone who hurt people and called it honesty. She said she hoped one day I would stop confusing an audience with courage. I called her a traitor. She did not answer. In the hallway outside my apartment, Ryan's name disappeared from my shared delivery account because he removed his address. It was a small thing. Groceries, not love. A line item, not a breakup. Still, I stood with my keys in my hand for longer than I needed. The office smelled like espresso and printer heat, which usually steadied me. That week, even the clean campaign boards looked like they belonged to someone who knew how to hold a story together better than I did. The thing is, I had built my whole work life around controlling what people saw first. Of course, I thought I could do the same with a breakup. I told my team Ryan and I had ended things because we wanted different futures. That sounded mature. It had no wine bar in it, no blue shirt, no table full of women laughing in uneven pieces. My director said she was sorry and asked if I needed to move my afternoon call. I said no. Work was easier than silence because work still listened when I spoke. At lunch, Maya did not sit beside me. She sat with 2 girls from another team near the windows. When I texted her later, she answered 3 hours after the message. She said things had been weird and she did not want to be in the middle. In the middle. As if I had placed her there. As if she had not laughed too. I called Jess on the way home. She did not pick up. I sent a voice note saying Alicia was spreading a version of me that made Ryan look noble. Jess replied with 1 sentence. She said Alicia should not have interfered. That was all. No joke, no plan, no sharp little line to make me feel untouchable. 1 sentence. No heat. Jess, where there had always been noise. I played her message twice, then deleted it because the tiredness in her voice made my apartment feel smaller. Ryan finally sent something that evening, but not to me. Alicia forwarded 1 line after asking if I wanted to read it. I told her not to act like a saint, and then asked what he said. Ryan had told her he was not angry enough to hate me, but he was clear enough not to come back. I read the line on my screen while standing beside the kitchen counter. The kettle clicked off behind me. I did not pour the water. Not angry enough to hate me. Clear enough not to come back. It was worse than anger because it had no door in it. The next therapy session was harder. Dr. Mallory asked why I had chosen the wine bar. I said I had needed witnesses because Ryan always made private conversations bend toward his hurt. She asked if witnesses made the truth truer. I told her witnesses made it harder for him to turn me into the unstable one. Then I said the true thing. I said Ryan had wanted serious things before asking whether I felt ready for them. I said he had brought me to his parents, built routines around me, made quiet plans around my body like my fear was just a schedule he could not see. Dr. Mallory said that sounded real. I nodded too quickly. She then asked what I did with that truth. The room became too still. I told her I ended the relationship. She said I ended it in front of people who already laughed at him. I said she made it sound ugly. She said she was naming the room. After that, I changed tactics. I wrote Ryan an email. Controlled. Soft. Almost kind. I said I had been overwhelmed by how quickly things moved. I said the wine bar had not shown my best self. I said I hoped one day we could speak without other people between us. I did not apologize directly. I wrote around apology the way my clients wrote around responsibility. He did not answer. 2 days later, David Mercer viewed my profile online, Ryan's older brother. That small notification was the first sign that Ryan was no longer just hurt. He was organized. I clicked David's name, then closed the app like it had burned my hand. At work, a client sent back campaign edits covered in red notes. I snapped at Leah from accounts for asking a simple question. My director looked up through the glass wall. She did not correct me in front of anyone, which made it worse. Later, she asked if I needed support. I told her I was fine. Of course I was fine. My phone kept showing no new messages from the people who used to fill every empty minute. Maya was polite. Jess was absent. Alicia had become a locked door with my name on the other side. I tried Natalie one night. She had barely known Ryan, so I thought she might be easier. She said she did not want drama. She said the wine bar had been uncomfortable. She said Ryan looked like someone who had been told the joke after everyone else already knew it. That sentence stayed. I told her she had misunderstood the whole night. She said maybe. Maybe is what people say when they have already left, but do not want to slam the door. The voluntary line came the next Friday. Jess had invited a few people to her apartment. Not the whole group, just enough bodies to make the room feel usable. There was wine on the counter and music too low to be called a party. I went because staying home had begun to feel like punishment. Someone asked about Ryan. Not cruelly, not warmly, just asked. I could have said we were done. I could have let the subject die. Instead, I laughed and said Ryan had always wanted to be chosen more than he wanted to be known. I said he had mistaken my patience for love. I said I had done him a favor by ending it before he built a shrine around a woman who was never going to worship him back. The room went careful. Jess looked into her glass. Maya was not there. Alicia was not there. Natalie looked away. A man I barely knew said that sounded harsh. I smiled at him. I said harsh did not mean false. The thing is, by then I was saying true things in the cruelest possible way because cruelty was the only version of truth that still made me feel in control. On the way home, I checked Ryan's profile from a burner account. He had posted nothing. No quote. No sad photo. No gym transformation. Nothing. His absence had become cleaner than my explanations. I stood in my bathroom that night and looked at the old photo of us still buried in my camera roll. It was from the rooftop barbecue, early enough that we were almost strangers. Ryan was not looking at the camera. He was looking at me. I almost deleted it. Instead, I locked my phone and placed it face down beside the sink. One photo. 2 people. No audience left. The certified envelope came to my agency reception on a Tuesday morning, while the lobby smelled like espresso and the lemon cleaner our facilities team used on the glass doors. Leah from accounts signed for it because I was in a client call. When she brought it to my desk, she held it with 2 fingers, not because it was dirty, but because she had read the sender line. Mercer and Vale Solicitors. My name was typed in black across the front. I opened it in the small conference room with the frosted wall because my hands had started moving before I chose a place to sit. The document inside was a formal cease and desist letter and notice of intended civil claim for reputational harm and harassment. It named the wine bar. It named the group chat message where I said he was never my level. It named the apartment gathering where I repeated that he had mistaken my patience for love. It demanded that I stop making public or semi-public claims about Ryan and remove any posts or messages that framed him as controlling or unstable. There was a deadline. 10 business days. There was a next step. If I did not comply, they would file a civil complaint in county court and request preservation of messages from the people present. Leah stood near the door and asked if I wanted her to get my director. I told her no. My voice came out too clean. She looked at the paper once and said only that it seemed specific. Specific. Of course it was. Ryan had always been specific. I folded the letter back into the envelope, then unfolded it again because the crease was wrong. My hands kept trying to make the paper behave. Jess did not answer when I sent her a picture of the first page. 3 hours later, she wrote that she could not be involved and hoped I understood. I understood nothing, except that she had finally chosen a door. I moved from my apartment to a smaller place near the train line because every corner of the old one still waited for a message that never came. My savings went toward a consultation, a response letter, and the quiet cost of learning that words said in groups could still follow you home. Maya stopped replying after I asked what she would say if contacted, and Natalie blocked me after sending one careful apology to Ryan. Jess deleted the old group chat and started a new one without my name in it. At work, my director took me off a campaign about trust because nobody said the joke out loud. Months later, I saw Ryan in a coffee shop with Rachel. She laughed at something he said, and the laugh did not ask the room for permission. He looked calm beside her, not smaller, not brighter, just present. He saw me near the counter. For 1 second, the whole wine bar returned without sound. Then he gave me a small nod and looked back at her. The thing is, I thought humiliating him first would protect me from being left second. I thought if everyone saw him as beneath me, then nobody would notice how badly I had needed him to choose me quietly. Of course, the room did notice. It noticed him walking out before it noticed me staying. The blue button-down was not on him that day. I wanted him to feel lucky I had chosen him, and now I am the only one still sitting at that table.